I had this thought, which is kind of an oversimplification, but I believe it's still fundamentally true. And it's the fact that every job in finance exists because we can't predict the future. Yet everyone tries, whether that's issuing debt, investing in equity, with kind of taking a mathematical gamble if you think about it. Anyway, the idea behind this video is to rank all finance jobs from S tier to D tier to kind of understand better what these jobs encapsulate and at the same time gamify it. Keep in mind that we're going to be doing this analysis at the entry-level job. Of course, when you rise through the ranks, even the D-tier jobs can become much more lucrative. First up, we have venture capitalists. If you're a venture capitalist, a lot of your time is going in meeting founders, evaluating their business, since your main job is to invest money in early-stage startups. Entry-level title for someone in venture capital could be investment analyst at Sequoia India. Now they're called Peak 15 Partners, or Z47, or Bloom, or Excel. If you give an analogy, this is probably like you being the cool kid on the table. You're probably drinking Blue Tokai coffee all day and using disruptive and AI enabled in every other conversation that you're having. But I overall would put this job to be in a solid A tier. Your lifestyle is great. You're probably dressing casual. You don't have as much pressure as some of the other jobs, at least in terms of the hours that you do. There is a sense of purpose because you feel like you're building the future. You're literally investing in startups that are going to possibly change the world. Next up, we have quantitative analysts or quants. Quants are like...
Not quite sure how to help you with that.
Alexa, I'm recording a video. Can you just let me be? Anyway, essentially think of people in quant to be like the rocket scientists of Wall Street or Dalal Street, primarily involved in algorithmic trading or high frequency trading, which is a form of financial engineering, if you will. They're using these complex algorithms, which are mostly based on AI and ML, to kind of exploit a statistical arbitrage and have a positive alpha, which is to say, make money. If you are in quant, you're probably the smartest person in the room, but you have zero social skills, likely. Also, you don't have to talk to clients, and your work hours are really, really nice. You're probably only having a 40 to 50 hour work week because when the market shut down, there's not much for you to do as well. The pay is insanely good. These are the kind of salaries that make headlines in newspapers when we talk about IT graduates getting a CR or something like that. Well, it depends upon the firm that you join, but north of a CR is something that is not unusual for people, even at the entry level in quant. This is a highly exclusive group of people. There are not many quant companies in India. Good examples could be Quad-A, Graviton Research, AlphaGrep. I would put quant as an S tier job. This is where the money's at. This is what you want. A good work-life balance, not a lot of kitsch from the clients, and at the same time, a ton of money. Next, we have corporate finance. Corporate finance, at the entry level, you might have roles like financial analyst or financial management trainee, they like to call them, in firms like HUL, P&G, Amazon, Google, any corporation for that matter. Your job essentially is managing the company's budget, forecasting profits, and the pay is also decent, not the best. The work-life balance is actually possible, unlike some of the other jobs which will come later on. But the joke is you're the no man. Marketing wants budget for a party, you say no. HR wants new laptops, you say no. I would put corporate finance in solid B tier, I would say. It's not as glorious as A tier or S tier, but it's still a very nice, stable job which helps you exercise all the finance that you've learned in B school. Next up, we have management consulting. This is something I know a little too much given my personal experience. Technically, it's a strategy role, but it overlaps heavily with finance, so it's only justified I also talk about it a little bit here. If you're a management consultant, you're likely an associate at a firm like McKinsey, BCG, or Bain. Your job involves solving big problems for CEO. Should we enter the EV market, or do we fire 10% of the staff without looking bad, etc., etc. Problem statements are very broad, but almost always there's a financial aspect to the thing that you're solving. You're likely living in 5-star hotels. You have all this luxury, which you have no time to use because your work-life balance is bad, for lack of a good word. And but you're a 23-year-old who's advising a 55-year-old CFO how to run his business. He's not going to take you seriously at the beginning, but the more you build your credibility, he's going to come around. And the exit opportunities are really nice, which would make me put it in solid A tier, I would say. Big Four audit. Your job is essentially checking other companies' accounts to make sure they aren't lying. You either join in your articleship or come back as an associate. In your articleship, you're earning peanuts, literally nothing. When you come back as an associate, you're making some money, but still not at all justified for the kind of work you're putting in. Your role would probably be called audit associate at a company like EY, PwC, Deloitte, or KPMG. The suffering is real. You really have to be very peculiar about every single detail. And especially towards the end of the financial years, which is Jan to March, your life is hell, simply put. The joke is when you say, can I have better compensation? Your boss might be just saying, let's go out for a pizza party because he thinks that's enough for you, which low-key it is. Anyway, I'm gonna put this in D tier. Don't be an audit, it sucks. Next up, we have private equity. Well. The big fish is here. You're like that kid on the table who, when he speaks, everybody just stops and listens to what you have to say. The reason for that is you come with big money. This is also probably a good segue for me to explain the difference between private equity and venture capital. These two terms get interchanged all the time, and you will see a lot of people, even in the industry, use them very loosely. And the reason for that is both of them essentially do the same act in practice, which is investing in companies to gain a portion of their equity and later on selling that equity for a profit and making money. The real difference lies in the stage of the business that they enter and the amount of money they invest. Venture capitalists or VCs enter the businesses very early, usually at the seed stage or a series A or B stage, where the business is still growing. You're kind of taking a big bet because most of these businesses haven't achieved a product market fit yet. There is a saying that a venture capitalist, for every 100 business that they will invest in, probably 90 or 95 of them will fail, but even 2 or 5 becoming really big will more than make up for their losses, in fact, give them a hefty return. Whereas private equity would enter a business much later at a stage where they've already shown product market fit and are scaling rapidly. An example of this could be Zepto raising X $100 million from a private equity fund because Zepto has already shown scalability. There is also difference in terms of how they structure a deal. Private equity largely uses leveraged buyout, which is probably a topic for another video. But simply speaking, venture capitalist means early stage business, less ticket sizes in terms of investing. Private equity means later stage businesses, larger ticket sizes in terms of investing. Okay, your title would be something like an associate. You're working probably in a firm like Blackstone India or KKR India or Christ Capital, etc. There are only a very handful of private equity funds in India and globally as well. And this is a very exclusive group of people, which if you do get in, I would argue this is as good as finance gets. S tier. Next up, we have wealth management or private banking. If you really think about it, this is a sales in disguise job because 90% of the day you're calling up your uncle's friend asking him to buy that ULIP policy that he doesn't need. The entry-level role in this domain would be something called as a relationship manager or a client associate in a firm like Kotak Wealth, IIFL, HDFC, ICICI. I'm gonna put this in C tier. The job is not the best in terms of glory. You really are, as I said, doing sales. The hours are better, the hours are not as bad. The pay is just okay, I guess. But keep in mind, this also depends upon whose wealth you're managing. This C tier job can very well be an S tier job if you are doing wealth management of someone like Mukesh Ambani and managing his own personal portfolio, right? For 90% of the people, I would classify this as a C tier job. Okay, let's continue. Next up, we have equity research. Equity research. This is a term that people love using on LinkedIn, and it sounds kind of fancy because if you think, oh man, he's doing research on equity, he must be really smart. What your role really is you're doing modeling and presentations for actual bankers that are sitting in New York or London. This is not a front-end role. You're not meeting clients and doing the actual deal, which is where the adrenaline really lies, which is where all the money really lies if you think about it. You probably work US hours in India. You're awake when your friends are sleeping and sleeping when your friends are awake. Your pay is decent for someone at the entry-level job. Your work is also not that excruciating. Hours are okay. But as I said, you're still at the back end of things. You're doing the research, the modeling part. The real money lies at the front end. And for that reason, I'm going to put this in B tier. Not in C because your exit opportunities are still good. If you've done great equity research specifically in a sector or something like that, there is scope for you to break into the A tier or the S tier. Okay, next up we have risk management. This is also one of the roles which is very common. You would often come across people on LinkedIn whose job title reads credit risk analyst or risk analyst at XYZ bank. Their job essentially is to make sure that the bank doesn't lose money. So they would constantly be pressure testing the bank's balance sheet by running various models. The pay is okay. The work-life balance is decent, but the work is not that exciting. The exit opportunities are also not the best. So for that reason, I'm going to put this in C tier. Okay, next up, we have commercial banking. Now, this is the kind of banking that comes to mind when you think of the word banking for most people, right? So think of the retail branches of SBI, HDFC, Axis, etc. Now, the work is what you would expect, which is to pass loans, clear checks, and a lot of all other things. I'm gonna put it straight in like the D section, and that's because this is really not finance at the end of the day. It is just operations. It is just doing the paperwork, and it is not the most exciting job. The pay is also not that good. The hours, they are what they are. But the most annoying bit is you're constantly dealing with customers who are annoyed back at you. If you're working at an entry level in a commercial bank, you're probably waiting for 5 p.m. to come around so that you can leave the bank, but your branch manager is going to close the door and make sure you don't leave until the cash tally matches. That's not a great life if you think about it. Okay, lastly, we have investment banking. Now, this is the kind of stuff on which movies get made. I don't know if you've seen American Psycho, it's a good watch. As an investment banker, you're doing two main things. One is M&A, or mergers and acquisitions, where you're kind of structuring the deal, finding potential targets and pitching them to other clients, etc. The second is IPO, or initial public offering, which I think most people know, so I don't need to explain it more. Your job title at an entry level would be called an investment banking analyst in a firm like Avendus, Kotak, or the Indian deal arm of global firms like JP Morgan Chase, Morgan Stanley, Barclays, etc. Right from the get-go, you're making close to a CR. I wouldn't say that's necessarily true for everyone. It depends upon the kind of bank you're in, whether that's a bulge bracket bank or whether that's a boutique IB firm. But either way, your pay is nice. But having said all of that, I would still put this in the A tier. This is not S tier, and the reason for that is you're probably aging 5 years for every 1 year that's passing by. At the end of first year, you're likely having back issues. Your wife is probably cheating on you if you have a wife, and you're probably constantly calculating your hourly wage, and you're getting slightly disappointed, I know. It is what it is. Anyway, this brings us to the end of this video. I hope you like this video. I hope you learned something new. If you enjoy this, if you feel like this was a value add, consider subscribing. I think I should say this more in my videos. Please subscribe. There's going to be something more exciting coming your way. Stay tuned. Have a good one. Bye.